Nikki, can you put your mask on, please?
All right, we're live now.
Kid.
All right. So the regular board meeting of the governing board of trustees for Romoland School District have been called to order at 5:30. Roll call, Mr. Reller,
Here.
Mrs. Moon,
Here.
Ms. Kleitz will not be joining us. She may be coming in later, but at this point, she is not going to be here. Mr. Sperry
Here.
and myself, Mr. Geary. So do we have any public comments for closed session, Nikki?
No, we do not.
Okay, so we will be, closed session has been called at 5:31 to discuss superintendent evaluations and negotiations.
Hey Keith, how's it going?
Good. How you doing, Gary?
Great, great. Hear great things about you. Trevor's raving.
Oh well, hopefully I can live up to the words.
Just a reminder, we're technically still streaming right now, so careful what you say.
Thank you, Vince.
Yes,
Praising cabinet members is certainly something we want streamed.
Keep me on track, Vince. Keep me in line.
Okay, the regular board meeting of Romoland School District have reconvened at 6:30 PM. Mr. Sperry, was there any action taken in closed session?
There's no action taken.
All right, move forward with the Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Governance norms. We agree to act with dignity, respect differences, build trust, work as a team, engage the public, focus on the success of every student, and work together in the common good. So we're going to move on to the governing board reports. Mr. Reller, do you have anything to report?
Oh, yes, definitely. I want to congratulate Madison Ariola, our public information officer, and for her presentation on February 4th to Menifee Matters and the Menifee Economic Development Team. As I went through this presentation, it was brought back an awful lot of memories. She presented some amazing information and material and recognitions that Romoland Elementary School District has had over the years, and what we continue to do to support our kids, not only with our 4,200 students, our 5 schools. We have full day TK and kindergarten, Head Start, state preschool, and after school programs. She highlighted our beautiful schools, not only our new ones, but also our modernized school, our Leader in Me program, our goal setting, and our AVID program, our college and career focus with our AP Spanish. Also, our Young Chefs contest that we have. Also, our one-to-one devices. Even before COVID hit, we were one-to-one. Our visual and performing arts programs, theater, band, all kinds of amazing programs. And also the great work that we're doing in virtual learning. We're put in a very tough position by the pandemic, as well as some of our elected officials. But the Romoland Elementary School District has done an amazing job in responding and through virtual learning. We have an amazing counseling staff, 6 counselors, 4 school psychs, 2 therapists, 1 RN, 4 LVNs, and 2 health techs. All of these things were in place because we knew what was best for our kids. And on what we're doing during the pandemic and serving all of our students and families with meal distribution. I was walking through the community a few weeks ago and stumbled across Romoland Elementary having a food distribution where parents would drive through and get a food box. Amazing, where the Romoland Elementary School District is supporting our community. So the presentation that Madison did for Romoland Elementary School District really impressed me, as well as showed those watching what a great job Romoland Elementary School District is doing and what amazing things our staff and our community are doing as well. So my regards and congratulations and thank you to Madison for the work that she's doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reller. Great information. Mrs. Moon.
Oh, well, I concur with Mr. Reller, but I also want to acknowledge some of the great things that is occurring virtually with our students. We have our spelling bee that happened this last week, and I want to congratulate Lexi Kulin from Chase Middle School, and then Boulder Ridge, Jessica Garcia. Congratulations, that is amazing. And then also our science fair winners. We had Emma Kreider from Mesa View Elementary, Catherine Danford, Jacob Drummond, Ellie Green, Layla John Valenzuela, and Shyla Valenzuela. So amazing and congratulations. And it's really terrific to see that such effort is being made. So these things that we normally do are being done virtually. So congratulations.
Thank you, Mrs. Moon. Mr. Sperry.
Not much to report other than I do sympathize with the parents out there wanting to get these schools up and running again. We have a lot of support, that we do want our schools open, and we appreciate the effort that all the parents are putting in. I know their patients are stressed right now. I have grandkids that are going through it here in the area, and I hear about it all the time. And we need to get those kids back to school. And anyways, all the other great things that I've heard that are coming on, that are going on right now, that's wonderful. And just like to get back to some normalcy. That's it.
Well, thank you, Mr. Sperry. And then myself, I concur with everyone. It's amazing how we've come together and continue to have these activities and help in any way that we can as a district, as teachers, as staffs, and even parents, because we are all in this together, but we want to get back to normal. And I just want to, thank everyone for actually pulling together and allowing us to continue to do these amazing things with the district and through the district. But I'll move on now to the superintendent's report. Mr. Payton, sorry.
It's okay. Thank you, Mr. Aguirre. So a couple of items this evening. Later tonight in the board agenda, we get to recognize our employees of the year for the Romoland School District. I won't steal too much of Mr. Murray's thunder, but we're excited to be able to honor these individuals tonight. Collectively, the whole district has really pulled together under this pandemic and this scenario we've been under. And we are excited to be able to highlight some of those individual contributions as our Employees of the Year tonight. So we look forward to that. Ms. Moon, you touched a little bit on spelling bee and science fair, a little precursor to the March board meeting. We'll be recognizing those individual students as well as History Day students at our March board meeting. So that'll be exciting. And recently, I would also like to recognize 2 of our administrators who have recently completed their doctorate programs. I may have already mentioned one, but I couldn't recollect, so I didn't want to miss anybody. Our principal at Romoland Elementary, Miss Michelle Echeverry, now Dr. Echeverry, a few months ago completed her doctorate program. And as of last Friday, our assistant superintendent, Michelle Weiss, completed her doctorate program. So she is now Dr. Weiss as well. So we congratulate those 2 for their efforts. And with that, I'd like to call on Dr. Weiss, we'll use her new title, to provide an update on early childhood education for the board.
Thank you, Mr. Payton. So first of all, I'll congratulate the Early Childhood Director, Vanessa Rodriguez, for being selected as a national mentor for the Head Start program. She'll be mentoring other new directors across the nation. So that's quite an honor for her to do that. But also I'd like to share an update about the Head Start grant. We are part of a larger grant network, if you will, through Riverside County Office of Education. They are our grantee to run Head Start in our district. So while we run our program, we get guidance, leadership, and the funding stream, if you will, through Riverside County Office of Education. Last year, Riverside County Office of Education Head Start grant was placed on a quality improvement plan due to a lack of supervision at a couple sites that were not in Romoland School District. They were in 2 other grantee areas that I will not name, but they were not Romoland School District. So the Administration for Children and Families conducted an investigation of the incidents and then provided Riverside County Office of Education with instructions on how to correct those issues. After a long investigation period, the deficiency had been cleared at those agencies in the county where those issues had occurred. And then the grantee provided us with the following documentation that showed what the review was and what corrections were made so that it was cleared. The outcome for us was that, Ms. Rodriguez had more work to do as the director here to put in more corrective actions that the county said that all the Head Starts needed to do within the county, such as increased signage, some extra locks on the doors, things for safety for students. Just wanted to make the board aware of that.
Is there any questions on that topic by any of the board members?
No, but congratulations to Miss Rodriguez. That's amazing.
Congratulations.
She runs a great quality program.
Yes, she does.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Weiss, Dr. Weiss.
Dr. Weiss.
Thank you.
All right, we will now move on to recognitions and announcement. Mr. Payton.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Aguirre. So excited tonight to do our monthly student recognitions. I'm buying time for Mr. Butler to put that on the screen. There we go. And so for the month of February, students demonstrating outstanding character traits are Ashley Ruiz, a kindergarten student from Boulder Ridge Elementary, and Alexis McMahon, another kindergarten student from Boulder Ridge Elementary. So congratulations, Ashley and Alexis. Great job. For Harvest Valley Elementary, we have Alberto Mendoza de la Rosa from TK, Transitional Kindergarten, and we have Aiden Iniguez from grade 5 at Harvest Valley. So congratulations, Alberto and Aiden. Mesa View Elementary kindergarten student Brandon Mosley and grade 5 student Brianna Eastman. Congratulations, Brandon and Brianna. Romoland Elementary, 5th grader Alexander Cervantes and transitional kindergarten student Sarah Velasquez. Congratulations, Alexander and Sarah. And last but not least, Ethan A. Chase, grade 7 student Felicia Moore, and grade 8 student Miguel Gonzalez. So thank you, students, as a collective for being outstanding role models on your campuses by exhibiting those great character traits in your classrooms. We appreciate that. And your principals will be in touch with you on your yard sign and your trophy. So we will now move on to the next agenda item.
Okay, we'll now move on to Employee of the Year recognition. Mr. Murray.
Thank you very much. This evening, we'd like to take some time to recognize our 2020-2021 Employees of the Year. I believe Mr. Butler's going to pull up. There we go. That's one of our first people right there. The district, the California School Employees Association, and the Romoland Teachers Association would like to congratulate all of the employees being honored for their work to support the Romoland School District community. And as you can see, we already have our first recipient on the screen. We have Anna Drabeck. She's a 3rd grade teacher at Romoland Elementary School. She's an incredible 3rd grade teacher. She's passionate about teaching and specifically students learning. She has also been the school's Lighthouse Coordinator for the Leader in Me over the past 4 years, and her leadership, vision, and work have been instrumental in achieving Lighthouse status in just 3 short years. She also spoils the staff with her homemade pomegranate jelly, banana bread, and amazing spinach dip. Anna's also been selected as our District Teacher of the Year this year, so congratulations to Anna. Then we have Dora Muniz, also from Romoland Elementary School, and she's one of our bilingual aides. Dora is an incredible jack of all trades. She works diligently with teachers and students to provide top-notch instructional supports to students and families of both English and Spanish. She is reliable, kind, and holds students to high expectations. Whether in the classroom, on the playground, or providing translation support, Dora is collaborative, professional, and an incredible asset for all. Congratulations, Dora. And those are our 2 employees from Romoland Elementary Schools. We're now moving on to Kaylee Arentz. She's one of our teachers over at Harvest Valley, and she's in 2nd grade this year. Kelly is a dedicated and creative teacher. She holds her students to high expectations and reinforces this with high levels of support. She's always looking for ways to build stronger connections with her students, their families, and her colleagues. Ms. Arentz is always happy to share resources and consider herself to be a learner and a teacher. Congratulations, Mrs. Arentz. We also have Dawn Soler Cruz, who is the Classified Employee of the Year, both for the school district as well as for Harvest Valley Elementary School. Every year, Dawn and her team go above and beyond by not only facilitating safe and efficient food service, but also by working closely with teachers, the administration, and others to help families feel accepted and supported. When a family pulls up to get their food, they are greeted warmly, and Dawn has everything to do with that positive culture. Congratulations, Dawn. And she'll be representing the district at the county level for Classified Employee of the Year. We're now moving on to Rachel Clark. Rachel Clark's one of her staff over at Mesa View Elementary School. She's an instructional aide. And Rachel is an instructional aide at Mesa View who works well with the TK to 2nd grade learning center students. There's no task that Rachel isn't able to accomplish. She builds great relationships with all students and supports Mesa View teachers, often with her own ideas in order to help her students be successful. Congratulations, Rachel. For Mesa View, we also have Heidi Alpine, a 3rd grade teacher. Heidi designs lessons to stretch students academically while providing a kind, supportive hand to ensure their success. Heidi is a 3rd grade team lead, and she has a solution-based perspective, so her team stays focused on the students' achievements. Congratulations, Heidi. Now we're moving on to the middle school. Lindsay Reed is an exceptional language arts teacher at Ethan A. Chase. She is soft-spoken but powerful. She builds positive relationships with her students and families and goes above and beyond by providing support to her students after school and by assisting in clubs when possible. Finally, Mrs. Green's ability to assess her students and provide targeted instruction results in our students' success. Thank you, Lindsay. And from Chase Middle School, we have our Classified Employee of the Year, Raina Morgan. She's a dedicated lead custodian at Ethan A. Chase, and her priority is always student and staff safety. She ensures that all facilities on campus are safe, clean, and ready for students and staff. She goes above and beyond the call of duty to prepare our school in any way possible. Thank you, Raina. On to Boulder Ridge Elementary School with Nikki Dodd. Nikki always has a smile on her face that can light up a room, and more importantly, it lights up the hearts of the students she works with. Mrs. Dodd is a friend, an advocate, a coach, an ear, and a beacon to the Boulder Ridge students. She puts the needs of her students at the forefront of all she does. Congratulations, Nikki. Also from Boulder Ridge Elementary School, we have Bailey Gurgis, a 4th grade teacher. She is truly a one-of-a-kind leader. Bailey is a passionate teacher advocating about educating students, and it shows in her ability to connect content to her students' lives and make the work meaningful, exciting, and fun. Her strengths lie in her ability to build strong, lasting, meaningful relationships with her students and their families, since she places that at the heart and the forefront of all she does. We are now moving on to the Early Childhood Education Program. With this incorporates all the staff from the Early Childhood Education Program from Romoland, Harvest Valley Elementary, and Boulder Ridge Elementary Schools. Lacey Romaine is a huge asset for the Early Childhood Education Department as we have navigated through COVID and virtual school. She comes to work daily with an optimistic attitude and lends a hand to any team member in need. Lacey gives so much of herself to her classroom, students, team, and the Early Childhood Education Department. They are grateful to have her on their team. Thank you, Lacey. Now for the district office, we have Kristen Ansel. She is the Employee of the Year for the Business Services Division in Accounting Technician and Payroll. Kristen is reliable and always demonstrates a great effort in her position as payroll purchasing technician. She works on tight deadlines to make sure all district employees receive their paychecks on time, and she always does it with a smile. Kristen understands the true meaning of wearing multiple hats, as she is responsible for all district purchases in addition to the payroll responsibilities. She manages her time efficiently to ensure that all staff and students get what they need. We also have Ureli Torres, and Ureli has kind of a mixed assignment. She's a district level employee in terms of support staff certificated, but she's primarily assigned to the middle school over at Chase Middle School. Ureli has a conscientious and committed attitude while helping students and their families with their mental health needs. Her caring personality and compassionate mindset are instrumental in supporting students, and she demonstrates excellent communication and organizational skills. These skills were further evident as she led the development of our mental health multi-tier system of support. She will represent the district as a certificated support staff of the year in the county process. Thank you very much. I think Mr. Payton has a moment for you guys as well.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Mr. Butler, could you go to the next slide, please? We didn't want to have Mr. Murray talk about himself. That seems kind of odd. So I decided to go ahead and take the microphone from him. But Mr. Murray is been voted our district manager of the year. He's our director of human resources, and he's been instrumental over the last year, in particular, in helping the district navigate the COVID-19 pandemic, working with our bargaining units, keeping lines of communication open, addressing concerns and issues as they develop as it relates to all things related to COVID, right? COVID tracing, monitoring, leaves of absence, doctor's notes for staff members, all while meeting the needs of our employees in very difficult times. And certainly the pandemic has been a challenge for every family, every student, every employee. And it impacts us all differently. And Mr. Murray has been really a rock for our district and really the central location that people go to for information and to get their needs met as it relates to this. And so for that, we're very proud to have him as our district manager of the year. And he will be moving forward to the county competition as well. So he'll be, you know, in a nice competition with other districts, district manager of the year as well. And we'll see how that process goes as he moves forward. But congratulations, Mr. Murray, and congratulations to all of our employees. We so appreciate all of your efforts for everything you do for our students on a daily basis. And with that, I'll stop, Mr. Aguirre.
Thank you
I
so
just want to
much.
add one thing. Thank you for giving us a chance every February to present our employees of the year to the board and to the community as well. Unfortunately, we couldn't do it in person this year, but we do value our employees, and we have a great list of people to share with you this evening. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations to each and every one of you. We will now move on to public comments and association reports. Mrs. Stackson, do we have any public comments?
Yes, we do. We have a few, so I'm going to just read them one by one, and we should get done shortly.
Okay.
So the first one was submitted by a Mesa View parent, Sarah Alameda, and she submitted, "Hello, members of the board. I am the mother of nearly 7-year-old student at Mesa View. My student was able to complete half of kindergarten. He struggles daily, even with an amazing teacher that is pouring her heart and soul into teaching these kids. I understand the pandemic was not anything we could have planned for. I have to say I'm impressed with the way Mesa View has handled it. All of that being said, I would like to request we look at returning to school on campus. If we have teachers willing to go back, then why can't our students? At the bare minimum, please do not force us to go into summer without knowing if we will be sending our students back on campus for the 2021-2022 school year. Last summer, we were stuck up in the air without really the ability to plan for our students being at home. The decision sooner is preferred, even with a contingent plan based on hypothetical circumstances such as rise in cases. Thank you for your time." The next comment was submitted by a Mesa View parent, Jeremy Taylor. "For some, this forced distance learning may be a blessing. For the majority of us, we would like our children being educated in the presence of a teacher who can help identify body language and correct misbehavior in person so that learning can be accomplished. Our teachers cannot properly provide assistance to children who are unable to ask for help or do not feel comfortable typing a response. The recess breaks, the presence of a teacher, controlled environment, social interaction are what all of your students are missing and frankly need, as much as my son loves to be home all day. School was created for a learning environment. Please reopen." The next comment was submitted by Mesa View parent Ashley Kirkshiman. I apologize for messing that name up. "Distance learning cannot continue to go on. These children, my son included, deserve the right to learn in school. If the CDC says it's safe, why are we not moving more aggressively to get these students back in the classroom? Do we have to wait until we have suicides on our hands like the district in Nevada? Talk to the parents of your communities. This is not working. Our children are not learning. They are frustrated. They are depressed. And the social aspects of a child being in school cannot be supplemented." The next comment was submitted by Mesa View parent Kimberly Grafton. "I feel it is important to get kids back into school. My daughter is in TK, and had I known what this year would bring and how much of the responsibility for her education would fall to me, I would have enrolled her in a school. I wouldn't have enrolled her in a school. I would have found my own curriculum and taught her at her pace and without forcing her to be tied to a computer for hours on end every day. Her teacher has done a great job with what little she can control, but these poor kids should be playing and interacting with each other in a social setting. The point of TK is to give them a social foundation for school, and how are children getting that from behind a screen? It's incredibly frustrating to see so many other states successfully having kids meet in person while California continues to isolate and lock down our children." The next comment was submitted by Mesa View parent Catherine Cruz. We need to reopen the schools for our students to attend in-person class. Please, everyone we know has had it, and we need to get these kids back to their friends and amazing staff. We are not created to continue to be isolated at home without social interaction with others. We need this all as a family, friends, and peers. The next comment was submitted by Mesa View parent, Miss Lynn Mackey. I am desperately requesting that our children go back to school. This has been long enough with the distance learning. My children's motivation and desire to learn has slowly gone down the drain. The in-school setting is a very much needed setting for their mental and physical well-being. The amount of distractions that are at home, from the doorbell to the phone ringing or different break times and dogs barking, is too much for them to really focus and get the education they desperately need. I am begging that you really consider putting our children back to school. Enough is enough. Their mental health is the most important thing right now that we adults need to put above anything else. The next comment was submitted by Ethan A. Chase parent, Tara Magner. Hello, my name is Tara Magner. My children has been attending school within the Romoland School District since kindergarten, the youngest now in 8th grade. For almost 12 years, my children have always thrived with so many wonderful educators along the way, even with my youngest having an IEP and special circumstances surrounding his education. Everything has been wonderful. That is, until March of 2020. As I previously stated, I have an 8th grade child with an IEP, and while the special education counselor, Mr. Kirk Carroll, has been amazing and checks in with my child almost weekly, my son struggles on a daily basis. I have recently become aware just how bad the struggle has become. My son has 100% checked out. Once a vibrant, smart, lively child who didn't necessarily love school, but had a will to learn, has become someone who could literally care less about being on his laptop in front of a screen every single day of the week in a house with zero interaction, limited communication with peers. This pandemic, while out of your control, has become detrimental to the well-being of not only my son's education, but his entire demeanor. These years are so crucial for preteens and teenagers alike, from how to properly socialize, how to properly communicate, and properly react to a stressful or happy situation. If you thought pre-pandemic video game interaction had an effect, move over video games. COVID-19 has the ability to completely sabotage an entire generation. I realize that some parents will keep their children home, and that's great, as that is their choice. However, give others the ability to make the opposite choice for our children, for their sake, for their sanity, for their education, for their well-being. What is it that Romoland School District has to lose if parents sign a waiver of release to have children safely return to face-to-face education? I thank you for your time, but only wish this board would have everyone, all children, all parents, all choices and decisions in mind when considering reopening options, because this, for the safety of everyone, isn't really an inclusive if we all aren't really given a choice and it's being made for us. The next comment was submitted by Ethan A. Chase parent, Sarah Martinez. I have 2 children who attend Chase Middle School. Both of my children have suffered tremendously with school not in person. They both have had mental breakdowns from having to adjust to homeschool and struggling to keep their grades up. They both were good students before COVID hit, especially my oldest son. He went from having A's and B's to now having C's, D's, and F's. Learning from behind a screen has not helped either one of my kids. They need to be in front of a teacher, in a class, socializing with their friends, and back to their schedule. We should be able to choose homeschool as an option, not be forced to stay home. The next comment was submitted by Ethan A. Chase parent, Christy Reyes. Please consider reopening our schools now. I have 3 children ages 6, 10, and 12. My kids are struggling and miserable. My kindergarten age daughter is very behind. 40 minutes of actual instruction has not done anything to benefit her. She is bored, sad, and behind both socially and educationally. My 10-year-old son is in the 4th grade. He went from getting exceptional high test scores and excelling in class to becoming depressed and down on himself. My oldest son is 12 and in the 6th grade. This is the child that I am most worried about. He has been diagnosed with ADHD since he was 8 and has had to work incredibly hard to do well in school. He has a 504 plan that I'm not sure any of his teachers have ever seen. While some of his teachers are doing their best to keep things interesting, I have noticed others that have completely given up on our kids and there's nobody holding them accountable. My son is struggling. My kid has so much work that we are spending hours after school to try to catch up. Sitting at a computer in your house for 8 to 9 hours a day is torture for these students. My son said he would rather die than do any more at-home learning. It's time to send these kids back now. The next comment was submitted by a Mesa View student, Tiffany Walters. I believe the school should open up as soon as possible. I have noticed a change in my child and is not a good way. He is losing his penmanship. He is on the computer all hours of the day, which is bad on his eyes. When my child is on electronics all day, he tends to not behave well. He has no friends to play with. We are paying taxes to the school and yet they are not open. So I would like to know where the tax money is going. My child needs one-on-one tutoring because of falling behind. We have attempted the online tutoring provided, but it's just an automated system, no one to interact with. Other states' schools are open and have no issues. I have lost my job hours to be at home with my child to make sure he understands his work. When asked to draw a picture, you can't do that on a computer. The next comment was submitted by a Mesa View parent, Holly Bradley Timmons. Hello, distinguished members of the board, and thank you for your time. I would like to make a few comments discussing COVID-19 school impact. I am a parent of a kindergarten student at Mesa View Elementary, Go Mustangs. Firstly, I would like to thank the teachers and staff from all school sites for their continued effort to deliver high quality instruction and adapt to rapidly evolving challenges during such an unprecedented time. I appreciate the monumentous effort it takes to develop and implement a virtual lesson, as well as the creativity and attention it takes to deliver it and assess students effectively. As a credentialed teacher myself, I have seen the impact of having to completely flip our understanding of learning and teaching on a digital platform. With an MA in teaching from USC and a professional certificate from UCI in virtual teaching, I feel confident in saying that this district has done an excellent job responding to student and family needs as best as possible, given the current recommendations from the State Department of Public Health and Riverside County Public Health Department. The following is in response to parents who are pushing for our schools to prematurely open for in-person learning, regardless of safety concerns, recommendations, and requirements. According to a study by Stephen H. Wolf, MD, Derek A. Chapman, PhD, and Jong Hong Lee, MS, the failure of the public and its leaders to take adequate steps to prevent virtual transmission has allowed COVID-19 to become the leading cause of death in the United States. We have lost and continue to lose teachers, colleagues from around the country to COVID-19. The Kaiser Family Foundation reported in July that 1 in 4 teachers, nearly 1.5 million educators, have pre-existing conditions increasing their risk of serious illness from COVID-19. More than 530 K-12 teachers died of COVID-19 last year, according to data compiled by the American Federation of Teachers. Many still worry about their students until the very end. No doubt by now, many of us have had a friend, family member, colleague, neighbor, or community member that has either contracted or recovered, many with long-lasting effects, or died from this virus that has claimed 3,377 Riverside County residents, 4,775,967 American lives, and 2.332 million lives worldwide. Hospitals in Menifee are at or near capacity. New potentially dangerous and contagious variants have emerged, and Riverside County is currently considered to be in the purple tier or widespread. The pandemic is unfortunately not over just because we want it to be. We all want to return to normal. We all want schools to return to what we are comfortable with and understand. However, until vaccines are widely distributed, testing is accessible and affordable for all, appropriate PPE is stocked and available, preventive measures are proven viable, there is a reduction in class sizes, etc., this cannot be done without putting teachers, staff, and our community in considerable risk for contracting, spreading, and possibly dying from this virus. I plead that you continue to heed the health and safety recommendations by continuing distance learning until it is safe for the sake of our children, families, staff, and their families, as well as our community as a whole. To the parents and families demanding that schools open, please understand that schools are open. Teachers and staff have been painstakingly working to ensure our children have the best possible outcomes in the middle of this pandemic. Please help support them in this endeavor by asking, how can I help? Showing compassion and understanding, or asking for additional support when it is needed. To the teachers and staff doing everything they can for our families, thank you. This isn't what you signed up for, and yet you're doing it anyway. I know you miss your students, the classroom community, and the culture you cultivated. I know how much your students mean to you, how they become your kids year after year, and how much you love seeing them light up when they learn something new. Just remember, their eyes are still lighting up. It's just behind a camera now. I see it firsthand in my daughter every day as she starts seeing math come alive. Thanks to Miss Perez Anderson, Mesaview, and her endless patience and kindness as she draws a picture she incredibly proud of in Miss Johnson's art club, Harvest Valley. Pause a moment and realize that what you're doing matters. It matters not just for the students you have in your class today, but also for the future. You're part of a large-scale systemic change and are making history. You have a place in our kids' lives, whether they're groaning about doing the work you've assigned, anxiously awaiting a phone call from you, treating a supply pickup like going to Disneyland, or gleefully trying to get your attention during your virtual class meeting. It's because you matter. Teachers, you are essential. Take care of yourself. Be well. Try your best. And thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being there. And the last comment was submitted from Mesaview parent Adrian Lamoth. Thank you for continuing to keep the community informed of safety measures and reopening plans. As a parent and educator, I appreciate the continued support of safety for students, teachers, and their families. And that concludes the public comments for this evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Staxton, and thank you, parents, for giving us your thoughts in that. We will now move on to Employee Association reports, and that will be followed by an information item. So, Mr. Murray.
Can I
Association reports
interrupt?
were the congratulations for the employees of the year.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to follow up on the community comments. And I just want to direct this to Superintendent Payton. And you will be doing a COVID-19 presentation this shortly that will address some of the concerns and answer some of our community parents' questions. Is that correct?
Yes, here in about probably less than a minute, we'll be starting a presentation on some of the updated guidance from the state and local public health office, of course, which we must adhere to. And we hear the frustration. We actually have some of the same frustrations and feel it as employees as well. So we'll be talking about some of those things here in the next few minutes.
Thank you. And just to also note that board members have the same concerns and want our students to return also. But I guess the presentation will explain more. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You were saying, Mr. Murray, about the association reports? I'm sorry.
RT and CSEA just wanted to once again congratulate the employees of the year, and that was part of their report for the evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We will now move on to the information item on COVID-19 school impact updates. Hopefully this will shed some light on some of those concerns from the parents. Mr. Payton.
So thank you, Mr. Aguirre. So we're going to talk about a few things tonight about where Romoland School District is at, but also where Riverside County and the state is at in terms of COVID-19's impact on schools. Some of the things we're still looking for clarity on in order to move forward. And so we'll present some information that we know. We won't have all of the answers, even though we've been searching for them, because some of those answers are dependent upon what goes on in Sacramento and potentially the Riverside County Public Health Office as well. Mr. Butler, would you mind advancing the slide? So around December, you heard Governor Newsom unveil a plan called the Safe Schools for All plan. And within that, he outlined a proposal for the state legislature to consider, and it was designed to incentivize schools to open, but only once they met the criteria from public health to open. And that's kind of been stuck in the state legislature right now. So while he made a proposal, the state legislature has not approved the plan at this point. And there is a rumor, actually, I don't know if it's a rumor, Governor Newsom said yesterday that he would expect an approved plan sometime this week. What we don't know is how his proposal has changed once it got into the state legislature. Oftentimes there's nuances or things are completely wiped out and other things are added in. And so we don't have an indication of what that may contain until it is approved and released for the public, which we are hoping is sometime this week. And so that's really an important factor, is that it's hard to plan for school opening if we don't exactly know what our parameters are. We know some of the health parameters, but we don't know all of the parameters coming out of Sacramento. Within his original plan, there was a funding allocation that was designed to help with some of the school reopening process. We don't know if that remains in the final plan, if it's approved this week or not. That original proposal had a couple of different deadlines, February 1st and March 1st. Obviously, it's February 9th, so the February 1st deadline has come and gone. And depending upon what happens here this week, we don't know if the March 1st deadline is still a deadline. There's rumors that the deadlines could change in this proposal if it is approved. So that's another variable that we're waiting on. And then there was some concerns. These are the big hitter items in his proposal. The things that are the most challenging is some of the concerns around testing cadence requirements, the cost for school districts, the frequency of COVID-19 testing, and in particular, the requirement that we test asymptomatic students. And so I know that's been a healthy debate up in Sacramento. And so we don't exactly know if there are going to be changes in that as well. So, but I want to make a distinction between the Safe Schools for All plan, which was kind of like a grant that districts could apply for by these deadlines. We don't know the parameters of what this plan currently is or when the state legislature approves it. But then we also just have regular school reopening criteria. So if we could advance to the next slide, I'll start to talk a little bit about that as well. And it gets confusing because some of the health metrics are contained in both just general school reopening, but also in the Safe Schools for All proposal that the state legislature is wrestling with. What you will see on the purple bars is what they call the adjusted case rate. And you can tell since January 12th was our peak, where we are at 107.2 cases per 100,000 Riverside County residents. You can see over, and every week we get an update, that it's been declining, and really that's the peak of winter break, probably starting to subside now. And so that's a good indicator. As of today, we were at 44.8 cases per 100,000. In order for elementary schools to be eligible from a health perspective to open, we have to be at 25 cases per 100,000. So if you look at that trend line, you could probably make some projections about, how soon that might happen. It could be fairly soon. It could be maybe 2 or 3 weeks if the trends continue the same way. They have cautioned. I think we're just coming out of Super Bowl Sunday, and I know the public health officials were cautioning about Super Bowl parties and the potential for upticks in cases. So we are hoping not to realize that, so that our trends continue in the right way. So to reiterate, before we can even consider reopening, for elementary level only, we have to be at 25 cases per 100,000. Middle schools have a different criteria. Middle schools are still in, for those that are familiar with the California Blueprint for a Safer Economy, they have to be all the way down to 7 cases per 100,000 and have a positivity rate of 8% in terms of the amount of people testing positive for COVID. That is the blue line bar graph you see on this chart. They're smaller than the purple ones. And you can see that on January 12th, we were at 25.8. And as of today, we're at 14.4. What this really means is our elementary schools are going to be eligible to open sooner than our middle schools, based on the adjusted case rate, hopefully continuing to trend down over the next several weeks. And so we'll now go to the next slide. There are other criteria that must occur for schools to be able to reopen and be eligible to reopen. So the first bullet is what I just talked about in the previous slide. That is the adjusted case rate and the positivity rate. The second bullet means we must have an approved COVID-19 safety plan, and that contains 2 main parts. There was a Cal OSHA COVID-19 prevention program. It's known as the CPP. And we got that update a few weeks ago, and we've been updating our plan on that. And we feel like we're in a good position there. There's also the CDPH, California Department of Public Health, COVID-19 school guidance checklist. And we have also, we're in a good position there. Those 2 documents have to be submitted to the Riverside University Public Health System for approval. And what that means is when we submit it, the public health office has 7 days to disapprove it, not to approve it. We submit it. They have 7 business days to offer recommendations. And if they do that, then we would make those revisions. Then they have another 7 days to review those revisions. There are some challenges with this plan that I'll touch on the next slide. The last bullet is, consulting with our bargaining units and our parent groups, and we've been engaged in that process all along, and we still currently are engaged in that process. But those are some of the big things outside of just the health metrics that we have to meet. Next slide, please. So we have some benefits and barriers to getting to that point. And the benefits are pretty clear. Under this new updated guidance, we have the potential to reopen elementary schools in a hybrid model sooner than previously anticipated. They were previously under the same guidance as the middle schools of 7 cases per 100,000. CDPH has changed that. So that gets us a chance to get our elementary students back sooner. The California Department of Public Health has recommended a phased implementation, and their recommendation would look something like we could start TK through 2nd grade in 1 week, and then layer in grades 3 through 5 a week later, and build on that. So those are the benefits. We are experiencing some barriers. Obviously, the COVID data that I previously mentioned is trending in the right direction, and we hope that it continues to do so. There are some other barriers and challenges. California Department of Public Health updated their school guidance on January 14th. And typically the way that works is once that's issued, our local county public health, Riverside University Health System's Public Health Office, they will then update their guidance based off of CDPH recommendations. As of February 9th, we still have not received those written updates from from the Riverside Public Health Office. And we can't assume that the local county public health guidance will exactly mirror the California Department of Public Health guidance. And in fact, in previous versions that we've dealt with, Riverside County at times has been more restrictive in specific areas than the CDPH guidance. And so our challenge in creating those plans that I previously mentioned on our COVID-19 safety plan is that we are expected to provide district plans that align with both CDPH, but the approving agency is our Riverside University Health System. And we have not received guidance from them in writing as of this time. I know we were told to just, not by Riverside County Public Health necessarily, to just follow the updated CDPH guidance. And I know some districts did that and submitted, and their plan has been rejected, I guess, at the county level. So that's a challenge for us because we don't exactly know how our local county plan may differ than CDPH guidance. And so that is definitely a variable that is a challenge for us at this current time. As we watch the data start to trend where we might be eligible to open, this is another layer that we are dealing with right now. And then there's a third bullet, the commitment of funds for the testing cadence, potentially without state-approved funding for it to happen. We don't exactly know. There's not a lot of clarity around the testing cadence. The CDPH and their guidance, and we've had lawyers look into this, has said that if you applied for the grant that I previously mentioned, that testing cadence, and what I mean by cadence is how frequently and who we test for COVID, would need to be strictly adhered to. If there is no grant to apply for, we've heard that that testing cadence is a recommendation, but that we could work out agreements with our local bargaining units. We are hearing rumors that, and it's not in writing yet, so I'm reluctant to say it's a for sure thing, that in Riverside County, that testing cadence may be a requirement regardless. And so that from a cost perspective of paying for tests for every student and staff member currently on a weekly basis with our health metrics where they're at, that would need to be done weekly for all of our students attending some form of in-person instruction. And the cost of that could approach about $2 million over a 3-month period. And so that's a variable that we're also hoping to get clarification on when this agreement comes out this week. And Vince, if you could adjust the next slide. So here's where we're at. This is the current status for Romoland School District. We have our Cal OSHA COVID-19, we have our CPP completed. It could get rejected because we don't know what the local public health guidance could be more stringent than CDPH guidance. We also have our California Department of Public Health school guidance checklist completed. Both of those need to be approved by local county public health. We have in our consulting both of our bargaining units having good and productive conversations. And our parent and guardian groups have been engaged through our LCAP, our SIPSA, and our DAC and DLAC process. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. If we can submit those plans this evening. The problem is it's a little bit of a guessing game for us, not knowing what our county criteria is, and how that may differ from CDPH guidance. But we're going to go ahead and submit, because if we wait and they don't come out for another week or 2 weeks with guidance, our district could be eligible to open from a health data perspective. But if these plans are not submitted for approval, they have 7 business days and another 7 business days. That could be the reason that we don't open, even if the COVID data shows that we're eligible. Our Riverside County Public Health Office could reject our plans and prevent us from opening. So that's kind of where we're at right now. And I just want the board to understand that without that clear written guidance, it's a little bit of a guessing game from our local county public health office at this point. And that's our current status. And so with that, I will take any questions or comments that board members may have.
Trevor, for the cadence, which in regards to the testing
Yes.
weekly, that 2 million, is that something that the federal government is going to help fund, or is that taking out of our current budget that we don't have?
Well, they've given this between the states and feds. We've had little bit different pots of money come in over the course of this pandemic. And so we have some of the money to help offset that. We are expecting another, I'll have to recollect everybody's memory that Congress passed what they called CARES Act 2 in December. And we were expecting a distribution of that money in March. And we haven't yet received that. And we got an estimated amount originally, but there's a debate going on before that money is distributed in Sacramento that could cause that amount to be less than what was originally projected for school districts. And so that's where the hesitancy comes to committing to that testing cadence without knowing what our distribution is of that CARES Act 2 money that we're supposed to be getting in March. But there's still a healthy debate going on in Sacramento about the amount per school district and how that'll be allocated.
Because $2 million for 3 months of testing, I don't know about everybody else, that is staggering. That is crazy.
Right. We have to assume from a budgetary standpoint, we have to assume worst case scenarios because we can't not have money, right, to run the district. But so The weekly testing is when the case rates are at 25 per 100,000. One of my cabinet members can chime in and help me if I get this next number wrong. Once it drops to, I believe it's 14 cases per 100,000, the testing goes to every other week. And then there's a progression from there. Like if you start getting into the red and the orange tiers, which would probably be a challenge to get to before the end of the school year, the frequency of required testing is spread out over more weeks, but we can't project how fast that could occur, right? Because we've seen the peaks and valleys of these COVID cases go up and down. And so we have to project for a weekly test until we're not testing weekly. So that 2 million is kind of the worst case scenario. It could come in less than that if the COVID data continues to trend in the right direction and we're able to space that out for every other week. I think it would be challenging to get beyond that mark. But if we do, then we can spread it out even further. Does that kind of answer your question and address it?
And just one other question on clarification of the approval of our checklist plans.
Yes.
If the county doesn't update us with the guidelines and protocols and we submit and they disapprove, then we can't open. So Riverside County Public Health has the final say whether we have the numbers. We can't open not without their approval. Is that correct? Even if we're following California Department of Public Health.
Yeah, currently the plans as written follow California Department of Public Health guidelines. And we've heard of a few things verbally from Riverside County Public Health that are examples of potentially being more restrictive. And we've kind of embedded those in our plan in hopes that it gets approved. But we also don't know, we may not know everything how it's being more restrictive because we don't have a written plan to go from. So you are right in that, I think the board wants to open. I think the staff wants to open. I think our parents, we heard tonight earlier, the vast majority of our parents want us to open. Our students want us to open. Our job is to meet the criteria as a county from a health perspective and from a planning perspective for the district. But ultimately, the final say is in Riverside County Public Health Office if we're able to open or not. And so that is our current challenge right now.
Because they're not releasing any updated protocols and guidelines.
We do not have any at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Moon. Is there any other questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. Aguirre.
Yes.
So I concur with and support Debbie's comments on testing, the expense of it, and how we're being held back by our county Department of Public Health and the requirements that they're setting. Sounds like they're setting forth that are more restrictive than our California Department of Public Health. So I'm not too happy about that. I understand that there hasn't been any written guidelines out, but it sounds like Dr. Kaiser is exerting some of his authority over our reopening plans that I'm not very happy with. And I know the County Board of Supervisors have indicated in the past that they have given some direction to Dr. Kaiser as his, as I believe that they have in the past for businesses. And so I think it's important for myself as an individual board member to reach out to my 5th supervisory district representative, Jeff Hewitt, to find out what's going on. How do we get these guidelines set in place? It sounds like the county Department of Public Health is not showing us where the goalpost is. So how can we kick a field goal if we don't know where the goalpost is? We know where the football field is because the California Department of Public Health tells us. Hate to use the analogy because the Super Bowl was the other day, but it just popped into my little brain. So, I just want to say I'm so proud of our staff for the work that they've done since March. Almost a year ago is when we went out, March 13th. And proud of our community and our parents, our teachers, our support staff, because sometimes things changed by the hour in the last year. And I can't tell you how many plans we put into place to just put them on the shelf, because now we've got to make a new plan. And that has happened over and over. So our staff continues to work. And I can tell you, I can speak for myself, and I know that this board has taken action before, that we are opening our schools when it is safe. And the people who tell us it's safe is the California Department of Public Health. And they've told us elementary, 25 per 100,000 cases. Secondary, 7 per 100,000 cases with a 8% positivity rate. So we will be ready to open when we hit those benchmarks. And I commend our bargaining units for being by our side the whole time, and our parents. And I agree with all the parents that spoke this evening that our social, emotional, academic well-being of our kids is just falling apart. I can tell you for a fact that in Riverside County, risk assessments for our kids are going way up, and our kids that are actually being admitted and on psychiatric hold is hundreds of percent higher than it is normally during a normal school year. So we need to make sure that when our numbers get to where we're at, we're ready. And I think our staff and our parents have really supported us in this, is to make sure that we're ready to go when that occurs. And as an elected board member, I need to make sure that I'm working hard to set us up for success. And it sounds like there's a particular organization that is not giving us clear information on how to be successful. And that's where we need to look at. And until that information comes out and is very clear, it's gonna be tough. But we're gonna open. And I know this board has said it many times. We're gonna open when it's safe, and we follow what the guidelines are set forth by the California Department of Public Health. And we're getting close by the numbers that Mr. Payton has presented. So I can tell you I'm for sure going to be reaching out to Jeff and making my voice heard, not only as an elected official in this community, but also as a constituent to him in the 5th Supervisory District. So, Mr. Payton, thank you so much for your presentation today and your continued updates of our case rates and letting us know where we're at. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Payne. I agree. Mr. Eller, thank you for bringing up those points. That was great, and I appreciate the information and the updates, and we'll continue to have updates as the numbers change. We'll now move on to our consent agenda. So the consent agenda, the items on the consent agenda are approved in one motion. So do any of the board members have any comments or questions in regards to the consent agenda?
Yes, Mr. Aguirre, I'd like to read into the record the donation from the Assistance League of Temecula Valley. They donated $5,000 to the Romoland School District Pupil Services Department, and it will be This money will be used for students facing homelessness, financial hardship, and foster care. So thank you so much to the Assistant League of Temecula Valley. $5,000. That is a huge donation. That'll go a long way for our kids. So thank you.
Thank you for that, Mr. Eller. Thanks. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, all in favor, Mr. Reller,
Aye.
Mrs. Moon,
Aye.
Mr. Sperry,
Aye.
and myself, Mr. Gary, aye. Thank you. We are now moving on to our action items. So on M1, CSBA's 2021 Delegate Assembly Elections, Subregion 18A. Mr. Payton.
Oh, you're muted, Mr. Payton.
Sorry about that. We mentioned a few weeks ago about the potential for the delegate assembly election. We have one of our own board members who's been nominated as a potential candidate to be elected to the delegate assembly for CSBA. You currently have a ballot with 7 names. The board can vote for up to 6 people, though that's not required to vote for 6. So you can vote for 0 through 6 if you would like. And with that, I would open it up, I believe, Mr. Aguirre, to potential motions for nominations for the board to consider.
I'd like to nominate Gary Reller for CSBA's Delegate Assembly.
I would like to also nominate Mr. Reller for the Delegates Assembly election.
Mr. Gary, if I nominate others on the ballot, do we then take a motion to approve those nominations?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much, Mr. Aguirre. I'd like to nominate the following individuals for the position on delegate assembly. I would like to nominate Robert Garcia from Jurupa. I would also like to nominate Chris Thomason from Murrieta Valley. I would also like to nominate Madonna Garrell from Palm Springs, Jason Smith from Banning, and Sandy Hinkson from Temecula Valley.
Thank you, Mr. Reller. Mr. Sperry?
I'll nominate Gary Reller.
All right.
That's it.
Thank you. So do I hear a motion to approve these nominees?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, Mr. Reller,
Aye.
Mrs. Moon,
Aye.
Mr. Sperry,
Aye.
and myself, Mr. Gary, aye. We're now moving on to M2, adoption of attainment math curriculum for Romoland School District RISE program. Dr. Wise.
The attainment math curriculum is being recommended for adoption as the math curriculum for our Romoland Intensive Specialized Education Program known as RISE. Attainment math was piloted with RISE staff and students during the 1920 school year, and stakeholders were engaged in the process. The instructional content provides students with daily lessons in math that are aligned to Common Core state standards and accommodate the unique learning needs of our students.
Thank you. Do any board members have any comments or questions?
You're muted, Mr. Reller.
Mr. Reller, you're muted.
Sorry. Thank you. Dr. Wise, how is this curriculum different than the core adopted curriculum that all of the other students are using?
It's specific to the learning needs of the students in our RISE program, utilizing differentiated instruction, universal design for learning, and problem-solving strategies taught in an explicit manner with using principles of direct instruction, task analytic instruction, and self-monitoring strategies that our students need who have unique learning needs in the RISE program.
So can you tell me how we adopt our curriculum in the Romoland Elementary School District? Do we adopt it program by program, or is it, here's the 7th grade math program or middle school math program, elementary math program? How do we do that? I'm just bringing this up because it sounds like, and I could be wrong, that's why I'm asking the question, this is a different program than our math curriculum that a different math curriculum than the rest of our kids are using.
Correct, which is allowable in the RISE program for the students' needs. So yes, there is an adopted math curriculum for our middle school as a general education math adoption. We have an adoption that's older for elementary. A new math framework is being reviewed right now. California Department of Ed has issued a new math framework, so we're expecting new math adoptions coming in the next 2 years for more of a general education population math adoption. This one is specific to our students with learning disabilities in the RISE program to meet their needs for an alternative curriculum.
Okay, so these students will be taking the Kappa, or what it used to be called, the Kappa?
Right, the CAW.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Call.
Yes.
Okay, I got you. Now I.
Oh, you muted a little bit, but I think I understood that you understood what I was.
Yes, I did. Thank you so much, Dr. Wise, for being very clear on answering my questions.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, Mr. Reller,
Aye.
Ms. Moon,
Aye.
Mr. Sperry,
Aye.
and myself, Mr. Geary, aye. Thank you. We are now moving to M3, approval of comprehensive school safety plan. Dr. Wise.
Thank you. I'll share that, first of all, these safety plans are the ones we do annually, comprehensive, not just for COVID-19. So the other safety plan referenced earlier tonight was specific to COVID safety. These I bring to the board annually. They are updated annually at our school sites with the collaboration and guidance of site stakeholders to ensure safe and secure campuses district-wide. They are being recommended tonight for your approval.
Does anyone have comments or questions? Oh, okay. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. All in favor, Mr. Reller,
Aye.
Mrs. Moon,
Aye.
Mr. Sperry,
Aye.
and myself, Mr. Geary, aye. And moving on to M4, school accountability report cards. Dr. Wise.
As a state requirement, school accountability information is provided to the community as the school accountability report card, which is also known as a SARC. The SARCs for the current school year are published always a year behind. They are published this year as the 2019-2020 SARCs for each school, and they get posted to the California Department of Education website, as well as our district website, and they are being recommended for your approval this evening.
Thank you. Do any board members have any comments or questions?
Mr. Aguirre, I'd just like to highlight, I've looked at an awful lot of SARTs throughout my career, and usually most of them are dull and unattractive. I can tell you all of our SARCs are really attractive and demonstrates that our schools take pride in the information that is presented to the public for, about our schools, because a lot of people look at these SARCs to determine where they're going to move. and look at this data and this information and can tell a lot about a school and a school district. So I'm really impressed with what information is provided and in the manner it's provided. So thank you to the staff.
Thank you, Mr. Eller, for pointing that out. Do any other board members have questions or comments? Okay, I'll move forward to, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor, Mr. Eller,
Aye.
Mrs. Moon,
Aye.
Mr. Sperry,
Aye.
and myself, Mr. Aguirre, aye. We're now moving on to M5, interdistrict attendance agreement between the Romoland School District and Poway Unified School District contract for 2021-2026. Dr. Weiss.
This interdistrict attendance agreement is to support interdistrict transfer permits between the two school districts for families who require it based on board approved and district authorized reasons for transfers, such as childcare or a parent working in a different county. Our current agreement is, we have one, it is expiring. So this is an update to a prior agreement and it's being recommended for approval tonight.
Thank you. Any board members have comments or questions? Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, Mr. Eller,
Aye.
Mrs. Moon,
Aye.
Mr. Sperry,
Aye.
and myself, Mr. Aguirre, aye. Okay, that brings us to our information item number 2, first reading, board policy update for July 2020 and October 2020. Mr. Payton.
Thank you, Mr. Aguirre. These are board policy updates as recommended by staff and the California School Boards Association. They're being presented tonight as a first reading, and then we would ask the board in March to approve the board policies as presented this evening.
Okay, thank you. There's no need for a closed session, so we will go to board members.
Mr. Aguirre?
Yes.
I have a quick question about the board policies. It looks like there are non-discrimination, a lot of changes on non-discrimination. One of the highlights that I saw dealt with Title IX. Could we get some information in the Friday Communication Corner? What we're doing with Title IX and how that deals with harassment within not only our the workplace as adults, but also with schools, and how we're investigating those and things like that. And I know that that may change based upon the current administration in Washington's viewpoint, but just some information would be great. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Mr. Eller. We'll now move on to board members' closing comments. Mr. Reller.
I just want to follow up on, what we talked about. An awful lot of tonight's agenda is returning to in-person schooling. And I can tell you that this board, I can speak for myself, and we've reiterated many times that we want to get back to school face-to-face and it's safe. And we've got some metrics to meet, and they're trending in the correct direction. We just need to make sure that we focus on getting those that are controlling some of our plans and their approval in line with everyone else.
Thank you, Mr. Reller. Ms. Moon.
I think all of us had stated, or I stated earlier in the board meeting, but again, I concur with Mr. Reller. Truly, our goal is to get the kids back in the classroom in a safe manner, and then trying to figure out all the jumps and hoops with Riverside County Public Health And it may be helpful to mention that not only will us board members write letters to the Riverside Public Health, but also as community members and homeowners that have children or grandchildren attending our schools. So I encourage you to use your voice so that we do, the more they hear from us, they have to answer. So that's mine. And thank you again to the district, our faculty, staff, for the amazing work that you're doing. It truly, truly has been a challenge, and you have risen to the occasion, as well as parents. I have grandkids that are suffering just like yours, as well as the parents trying to figure out how to teach math. So that's it for me.
Thank you. Mr. Sperry.
Yeah, I'd like to thank those parents who did submit the comments today in public comments. I really appreciate those comments that you submitted. According to policy, we don't respond immediately to them, but I do get the opportunity now in my comments to respond to them. I appreciate your comments and the support you have for our teachers and our school district. It's greatly appreciated. And I do sympathize with all those letters that were sent. I understand what you're saying. Again, I do have grandkids in the school system, and my kids, their parents, I understand the struggles they're going through, and I do sympathize with all the parents out there that are struggling. The comments about how this virtual learning has affected your kids personally, it's not made up. It's true. It's happening. I absolutely agree with you. We want our schools open as soon as possible. But, you know, unfortunately, we are held to these guidelines, which we as board members have no control over. We have to play by those rules. But it is in our interest that these schools are open for our children, and as soon as possible. And we are behind you in this struggle that you're going through. We do sympathize and we do understand, and we are on your sides. Appreciate all the staff and what they're doing, all the hard work they're putting in. Mr. Payton, I really appreciate what you're doing. You're getting every time you turn around, you have to put a new program together, and it's literally, I think it's weekly that things change, and it takes so much out of your time to try to keep these things and keep your staff going and recreating all these programs. I know it's frustrating. It's got to be frustrating, but thank you very much for your hard work, and I hope this is getting cleared up soon. I'm tired of it too. I'm tired of being on the computer, out on computer screen. I'm sick of it. We need to get back in person. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Sperry. And for myself, I concur with the other board members. We are on your side. We want the schools to reopen in a safe manner. And yes, we do have to follow guidelines, unfortunately, fortunately, right? Pros and cons to that. But we do feel for you. And we're hoping that this is all over very, very soon. And I'd like to thank the parents that took their time to write these letters, because it does help us to see what you guys are thinking and going through. And we do want to see what we can do to help in any way. And all the staff that, overnight, as well as the parents, that everything just changed. So I thank everyone for their time tonight, and appreciate it. And our meeting will be adjourned now. Our regular board meeting is adjourned at 8:01 p.m. Thank you, everyone, and good night.